Okay, and we're live. Cool. Nice.
Cool.
Hey guys, welcome back to Crypto Mischief. Richie here, where I talk about my favorite thing in the entire world, cryptocurrency. That's right. And today I'm excited to host an AMA with Yannick Myson, who is live with me, as you can see on the channel. And we're going to be
What's
talking
up?
about an upcoming project, which is very much hyped on the SUI chain called Swarm. And hi,
Yep.
Myson. Welcome to the channel.
Yeah, thanks, man. Like, nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And let's kick it off, man. I'm excited to share what's about to happen.
Yeah, great. That sounds great. So Swarm, my thinking was the way I like to start AMAs with projects is to try and get like, what do we call it? Like an elevator pitch, right? So that the
Hmm.
whole idea for the project can hopefully be defined into a, under 1 minute of an explanation. So if you were to
Hmm.
give an elevator pitch of what Swarm is or the message that you want to put across about it, what would that be?
Yeah. So essentially, swarm. Like, let's define a swarm first, right? So a
Yeah.
swarm means a agentic multi-collaboration system of AI agents. So it's basically, in simple terms, it's a group of AI agents that work together and serve a certain purpose or a certain mission. So you can look at the AI agent space right now, and you'll see a lot of individual agents. Those agents are very limited in their capacity, just like humans are, for example. So, like, there's no like general agent that is good at everything and that is tapped into all of the whatever backends and APIs and endpoints that it requires to basically, like, serve your every query, whether it's about what you're going to cook tonight or whether it's about like fetching data off
Yeah.
the blockchain. Like, it becomes really complex for these things very quickly. So we build a framework that is just all about how are we getting these things to work together so that instead of one agent trying to max out the capacity of one agent, we can have 100 agents, all with different capabilities, all with different tooling, all with different entries into different databases. And how can we make them work together to serve, whether it's a user or a D app, or whether it's, for example, one of our protocols, serve that correctly and it's in its maximum capacity. So our first case study, and what is really interesting that we built with this framework, is we also tackled another pressing issue in blockchain, which is data availability, especially arbitrary data availability and verification of arbitrary data on chain. And we managed to do this with the combination of a protocol that sets the rules for interaction and propagation of information, plus a swarm, which is built on top of our framework. So what this swarm can do is it can take any piece of information that a user or an application requests. It can research that information and it can try and verify it. If it's verified or falsified, or whether it remains unsubstantiated, doesn't matter, but it's propagated and it's then brought on chain. And then you can do a whole slate of other stuff with that data once it's verified and on chain. But that's just one of the examples that we built, and something that is close to my heart and that I'm very excited about. But the limits of what people can build with swarms are virtually endless.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're just looking at it before we went live. We'll look into this. So this is your X account here, right?
Yes,
The
correct.
yeah. So follow Yannick Myson, by the way. So
Yes.
follow the CEO. That's always a good idea. So here you have posted rollup at
Yeah.
rollup news with rollup to this news article. So this is one
Yeah.
of the examples of what Swarm is capable of. So it's from Adam Koboisi. Mind-blowing chart. BlackRock raised a lot of money, $641 billion in investor funds in 2024, and now manages a record 11.55 trillion. The more AUM, that's more AUM than the combined market cap of Canada, France, the UK, and Australia. So this is an example of huge, big numbers that you'll see on social media, where we just take it, everything that's on social media is truth, right?
Yeah.
But then what Yannick did here, he signaled to the rollup news, which is a Twitter account, which is an AI essentially, and
Yeah.
then it gives you a link, right? And
Yeah.
this link substantiates what's been said,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
This is incredibly useful, of course.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. So here you can see, for example, in this case, the information in the thread was broken down into different claims, which you can see in the fact check part. And those claims are then verified by the swarm. So there's 100 different agents, all basically doing a piece of the verification. And then there's um, um, another group of agents that is going to be owned by users that actually does the consensus making on whether that information is correct or not. So here in this case, you can see that indeed, like the claims that were made in this article
true.
are correct. Yeah, but more often than not, the other example that I was trying to send you, but we didn't want to touch on because it was really political. But more
Yeah.
often than
Yeah.
not, in, for example, political spheres, or not just political spheres, but it happens a lot in the political spheres where they take information or a piece of data and they take it out of context and they portray it in a different way, and it gets
Yeah.
a new meaning and so on. So like a lot of the stuff is actually like you'll have an article and then it's like 70% substantiated, 30% unsubstantiated, and the rest is like 30% falsified. And then like what is falsified is just so important and helps shape
Yeah.
that piece of information.
And
Yeah.
also this one here, the emotion level
Yes.
is, of
Yeah.
course, quite important as well. 'Cause I like
Yeah.
how it
And
reads that, actually.
yeah, and if you go down a bit, you can also see, for example, another really cool thing in the below the full thread. Is there
Okay.
more? Yeah. So the conversation part here. Yeah. So you can still read the full thread. It's actually
Yeah.
designed for threads. It works much better with threads because there's more information and it's usually more confusing and so on. But the
Yeah.
conversation is basically a deliberation map. What that means is that we take all of the comments under a post and we extract the emotion and we map it into a topic-based hierarchy. So this is basically what people are talking about,
Yeah.
and are discussing, right? And then you can have here pros and cons and negatives and positives. This was not a super popular post, but sometimes it gets pretty wild.
And so this is an example of something that that Swarm can do. But as you were
Yeah.
mentioning, the possibilities of what a Swarm can do are endless, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is just us showing our audience, our investors, and everybody that's interested in Swarm, like, look, this is what we can build, and
Yeah.
we can build it fast. Now imagine what you can build, right? All you need is just to build on the same principles, on the same foundation, essentially. And the way you can do that is in the coming year, so in 2025, we're actually launching a set of tools which are going to make the framework much more accessible to non-developers as well. So you
Yeah.
have these agent builders, and those agent builders, for example, OpenAI has their GPTs and so on. And
Yes.
um, actually, I had I made a GPT when it just came out. I made a business coach GPT of the character Alex Hormozy, and it got like 400,000 chats. And then eventually it got banned because it was obviously some copyright issues and so on. But it was really fun and it was really exemplary for me to see, okay, how much usefulness I can bring into the world without code using a proper tool. Because all
Yeah.
I did was I spun up an agent, I added some data to it, I gave it references as to what are the principles that Alex Ramosi would make decisions based
Yeah.
off. And then it worked and people were wild about it. It was really nice. So this is what we want to achieve on Swarm level. So you have all these agent builders that are, a majority of them are open source. Some of them are black box solutions from OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever. But we want to make it so that you can just spin up a swarm, and it's right from the get-go is pretty useful. And then you can find like market fit, or you can find maybe an ecosystem that you contribute to, and then you can kind of build out its capabilities. And then there's this really cool thing is that we're trying to right off the bat create a system, not a system, an ecosystem where the swarms are actually getting paid, right? So it's like
Mm.
it's very rewarding. It's like the ethos is like, hey, we're building stuff that actually is able to make impact in this world and do something positive, opposed to, maybe, I don't want to shit on anybody, but let's say like virtuals, for example,
Yeah.
it's just another meme launcher, and the utility of those agents is like comparatively, it's like almost nothing, right? It's just entertainment. But
I
I
kind
think
of
that's
agree
not,
with you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
don't think
for
that's gonna last.
there. No, it's another meme cycle of just a different meme narrative, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There are, of course, so not just on, I think Virtuals is on base chain, right? Or well, Ethereum
Um.
ERC20.
y- Yeah.
But they're popping up on all chains essentially. And what you can do is you can create an AI that can do Telegram, Twitter, essentially.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
nothing much. There's no real substance to what you're creating beyond a communication tool. But you should be able to go deeper,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I was just because I was thinking, like when you were talking, there's, if someone wanted right now to create their own AI agent using, for example, the OpenAI, because I was discussing this with someone just last week, the cost to do this and the time and the organization you need to do it is quite advanced. You, of course, need to pay for the API key to continue to run the
Yeah.
OpenAI. Then probably you'd want to take your finished product, and you don't really want to hold it on your local machine, so you're going to have to pay for a VPS or some kind of cloud service to then host it on there. The prices begin to rack up and rack up
Yeah.
as you're building it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but then what Swarm is offering is that by being an agent holder, you already have the ability then to start building and creating your own AI with the tools that Swarm will be providing, and
Yeah. And not
while
just,
earning at the same time.
yeah, yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
So it's a let's say cash positive business model right from the get go, because first of
Yeah.
all, it's an investment, right? You become an early contributor to the ecosystem. You allow us to build faster. You allow us to go to market stronger, and you get access to those tools which allow you to indeed generate more value. Even as a non-developer, you'll be able to join a swarm. Let's say you join the Truth Protocol, you create a
Yeah.
swarm, you just join the consensus layer, for example. Like, there's not much that you have to do for that, to make that work. So yeah. So what is interesting there is that it's really business focused. I like to say it's like we're in the business of building businesses,
Hmm.
and that has to be, like, it's a multifaceted endeavor for us, because like, it's not just the users, right? Like, if you have users on the platform, that's great. You have now a bunch of swarms, but what are they going to do, right? There has to
Yeah.
be this essential thing of value creation, right? So where's the value created, where's the value extracted, how are we going to do this? So that's why we intend to give a very clear and straight path forward. And we also will give ownership and governance, um, kind of like solutions to the swarm. So, for example, let's say you want to create your swarm, but you want to access certain data streams, and those data streams are expensive. Right now,
Hmm.
what you could do is you could generate an underlying governance asset for the swarm. You could distribute that asset to people. You could have them to buy into that asset, and then you can use those funds that are in treasury through a governance model to build out the swarm. So the ownership also doesn't have to be segmented and alone. Like, you as maybe like you and 5 friends, you guys can band up together. Yeah, you have an agent license that gives you access, but 5 of you guys, you together build out this thing, and you find a nice product market fit. And then on the product market fit side, we will have a marketplace. So we're right now working with different partners that are interested in soliciting services of agent swarms to build their decentralized applications. That's also one of the reasons why we created the Truth Protocol, because whatever information and data we surface to these DApps has to be verified, right? We cannot just, like, Richie creates like a super biased swarm, and then, like,
Yeah.
we sell that biased data to somebody that thinks that, that data is accurate. So like, we really try and focus on the business side and try and create an environment where there's an instant kind of like value generation model, even if it's small in the beginning, that's fine, man. Like
Yeah.
now there's like around like 5 to 10,000 roll-ups every day. Those people, they value this information, and then this information eventually will grow. We'll sell that to other businesses, and that revenue is then redistributed as well. But again, that's just one example, right? It's like
It's
you
quite
could come up
successful.
with a completely different
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, and we just started. I think
It's,
it's been online
yeah.
for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, because I only used it. Yeah, I used the roll up first about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so like 10,000 use cases, like uses a day is growing very fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I think yesterday the swarm actually analyzed 49,000 different news articles.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's gonna get busy with everything that's happening across the
Yeah.
pond. So yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yes.
So, people might be listening and thinking, okay, this sounds like a fantastic opportunity. It's definitely on the button with being correct in the narrative for what's going on at the moment in cryptocurrency and in the world, with finding
Mhm.
truth, AI agents, creating your own agent, joining a swarm. And there is a sale that's coming up.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too deep into the discussion here before we do mention, the upcoming sale, because it is 4 hours and 4 days, 7 hours and
Yes.
36 minutes away, right? So
Yes.
can you tell us about the agent license sale?
Yeah. So we allocated 30% of the token supply to agent license holders. That token supply will be gradually distributed over a period of several years. In the beginning of the distribution phase, the distribution will be slightly amplified. So the earlier you come, the more tokens you'll be able to earn.
Mhm.
And this is really our bit to distributing and decentralizing the ownership of, first of all, the project, but also creating the access point for our users and our investors to start spinning up and managing these swarms. So what you will be able to do with an agent license beyond earning these tokens on a daily basis, you'll be able to get access to the platform and then either solicit agents to join your swarm and then put that swarm on a marketplace to provide services to any business that might require that, or maybe join the Truth Protocol. Or if you're not really savvy on doing that, you can actually lease your agent license to somebody else that wanted to do that. Now,
Yeah.
why do you need an agent license? Well, the agent license gives you the authority to also be able to build reputation on the platform. And with that reputation, you can then also consecutively launch and manage assets on behalf of other swarms. So the reason why we did it this way and not like a free for all like virtuals, for example, is because we care about utility and we care about trustworthiness of the entire network that we're building. Not just the network that we're building for the Truth Protocol, but also the network that we're building and that consists of all the swarms and that is potentially going to service other partners. We need to be able to verify and guarantee that, like these swarms actually do what they say they do. They're reliable. Their uptime is there. People that manage and govern them, they have skin in the game, and so on. So hence we wanted to go down this route, and I think it's it's also a little bit of more. I don't want to say honest, a
Mhm.
more,
So
I don't know,
responsible.
real business model. Yeah, more responsible.
Yeah.
Yes, more responsible. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when I see those things like what was the other one? It was virtuals, and then the one that just got sued, the crazy one where they had the live streams. Was it
Oh, yeah.
was
Yes,
it
it's
Pump
lost me.
Fun?
Yeah, Pump Fun was the fair launch meme coin platform. Yeah, um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
It-
So
it's a bubble. So
yeah,
you know,
and you see what happens there, right? It's like a 12-year-old launches a meme coin and then essentially it rocks like 50K, or I think it
yeah,
was 100K. Like those
yeah,
things, like you don't want those kind of things to happen on your platform.
yeah,
So there has to be a kind of like, there has to be an ownership model, and that ownership model has to be supported by people that are serious. Hence,
yeah,
also the price of $1,000. Look, if we're going to sell these licenses for $25 or $50 each, it's again gonna become much more accessible, which is not really an issue if you think about it from like a race perspective. But it's definitely an issue further down the line where you have like a bunch of people that are not really interested in what you're doing in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So high price, high reward, but we also will ask eventually, to kind of like get involved and actually do something on the platform.
Yeah, this is exciting. So the price for the agent, which launches in 4 days, 9 hours. Each agent is 999 USDC, and it is on SUI chain, which really piqued my interest when the launch was announced to be on SUI chain. And you can join. There is a Telegram group. I actually have a question about the Telegram group because it is
Yeah.
a growing group that you have a huge Telegram group already with Swarm,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you create a second one, which is more focused on the launch of the agent licenses, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I
Yes.
want to backtrack a little bit because you said 999 per agent, but it's
Ah,
999 per agent license. But a
yes, yeah.
license can solicit any agent. So the cool
Oh,
thing
okay.
is like it's basically actually it's, if we would word it correctly, or according to its utility, it would be a swarm license. But
Cool.
that was confusing for people. So you are able with the agent license to solicit other agents, even outside of our network. If there's agents that are built on different frameworks that just work really well and you want them to join your swarm, that's also possible. So that's the really cool thing about it. And yeah, about the group.
Mhm.
So we have this really big group, which is it's a kind of free for all. It's like there
It's
was a lot
huge.
of people that joined really early. Yeah,
Yeah.
like joined really early, and we had a bunch of campaigns. And then but that's a kind of like a community
Yeah,
supporters,
this
right?
one. Was it
Yeah, and
1.2
then
million people?
yes,
That's
yes,
quite a group.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then that one was getting pretty hectic, and I wanted to have a little bit more of a central conversation with our stakeholders and people that are really, really into it. So we
Yeah,
created this complicated way. It's like you cannot just join the group. You actually have to decode like strings of code that you can receive through interacting with rollup news, and then eventually you
yeah,
get access. So yeah, that group is pretty cool, man. Like I've been talking to people there that, first of all, they're all going to buy these agent licenses, but they're also genuinely interested in building these swarms. And mainly the conversation has been about like, hey, what would you do? What kind of swarms would you build? And it's really funny, man, because like the answers that I get are so different from each other. I haven't had one answer that really looked like another one. It's like the intentions that people have to do good in the world are really extraordinary, and they feel empowered with the capacity and the tools that they can use. Like these AI agents and the tools that they are built on top of. Like it's it's really empowering to see because it gets people thinking. It's like, hey, if I could do something really cool, what would I do? I think that's a kind of like a frame of mind that you don't often enter because maybe majority of people, they're not really interested in building businesses because it requires a lot of time. But with swarms, it's cool because you build something once and it virtually runs 24/7, right? Like you don't need to feed your agent, you don't need to attend to their emotions.
yeah.
It's like once it's there and it works, it's there and it will run, right? So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've also like I've had an eye on the Telegram group you made as well, and it is like the fact that the developer is in the chat and engaging one on one with the growing community that's inside it is that's you don't get that from most launches.
Yeah,
Usually the developer isn't on hand and ready to answer all questions, show your face. You have a long history as well, which I want to
yeah,
touch on as well in this video, because this isn't your first rodeo, right?
yeah. No, it's
You've been
not.
in this space for a long time. It's my first
Yeah,
time meeting you in person, but I already knew who you were before I was approached to do this AMA. So your
yeah,
reputation and your name does speak for itself as well, and I do want to touch on that as well in
yeah,
this. So, but this will I'll also have a short video that's launching, being published before the launch of the agent license to explain, how to, if you don't know how to get onto SUI chain to get the USDC, if you are not sure how to buy and things, there is also a purchase guide in their Git book that you can go through and have a look at as well. So that's
yeah.
all there as well. So one big question is why SUI chain? What brought you to
Yeah.
decide on SUI?
Um, the SUI chain is very composable and it's very easy to build on. That's the first one. And then secondly, like the ecosystem itself, I think is very undervalued. It's kind of like the underdog. It's performing very well, but then what's
Yeah.
actually really happening on like dev level and project level is still, it's still like a big opportunity. It's like a big market there. So we felt like from a positioning perspective, it was really good. Then from a technical perspective, we can build really fast because our developers, they really enjoy building on SUI. And then we seem to be getting quite good support from the foundation and from people within the SUI ecosystem as well. So yeah, like all in all, SUI is base one, that's for sure. But we're not going to just only limit ourselves to like one chain. I think that a lot of the services that we'll be providing in the future will be interoperable across networks, depending on where the demand is really. Like some
Okay.
chains they promote a certain type of dApp, and like we will go wherever the wind blows. But SUI for now is like just station number one.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering about that because I was thinking if because of course you'll have the no code option for working with the agents, the agent
Yeah.
license in the future. Of course, SUI uses Move coding language, right?
Yes.
And it could. I was thinking, well, yeah, it could be a bit of a barrier for anyone who isn't capable of that language, and then they'd have to get on the side and learn it and use the agent license. But if it's also going to be branching out to other chains, I guess other languages of code to interact on different blockchains, then that's that's good to hear. Actually, very good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and
And
I think another thing to mention here is that most of the builder capabilities are going to be no code. So a lot of the smart contract logic, to a certain degree, obviously, if you want to build really crazy stuff, then still have to
yeah.
have a developer on deck. But like basic functionality, like for example, like regarding like transparency or privacy and security of these agents and the environments that they run in. That's all kind of like pre-made templates, and you can just one click them, and you can just spin it up, and it will work perfectly fine. So I
Yeah.
think that's a
Yeah.
really easy and nice entry point for users.
Okay. And then I'm not sure if you guys have, so because the sale will be on Sui chain, does that mean once the TGE of the token, because of course, like we've been talking about, you buy the agent license, which then allows you to join the swarm and begin crafting your AI legacy, essentially. You become an
Yeah.
AI developer, but you also just so you can own it, operate it, but also you will earn the swarm token.
Yes.
And do you think that by the TGE of swarm token, do you think it will be launched on Sui chain, or you might um, launch it somewhere else, or has that been
Yeah.
decided?
Yeah, we have a good TGE plan. We have a lot of experience in this as well. So
Yeah.
there will be a token on SUI, that's for sure. It will be trading on the DEXs there, but we will also go
Cool.
to centralized exchanges.
Okay.
So we're
Fantastic.
targeting the tier one exchanges, and I think it's going to be generally accessible for anybody.
Good. And I guess that's a great time to start talking a little bit about yourself, right? And your
Yeah,
experience and your history inside of cryptocurrency. So tell us about
yeah,
yourself. Um, you know,
sure. Yeah, the first time I got in touch with crypto was like a really long time ago when I was still in University of Applied Science in Holland.
okay.
We started Bitcoin mining, and I kind of the environment um, was not really compelling enough to keep me hooked at that time. I was very busy with life, and I kind of got sidetracked and kind of veered off the path of cryptocurrency, even though I got in touch with it very early. Went into some other businesses, worked with very large brands in the world, especially in Southeast Asia. So I worked with the likes of Mercedes, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, did
Okay.
large scale events, and then eventually got reintroduced to crypto when the utility of NFTs came really apparent, and that's when I really started to dive deep. I'd always DCA'd into some assets like along the way, not really leaving leaving the space behind, always in the
Yeah.
back of my mind. But then really got introduced through that angle. And then what was part of Delicium AGI, where we did a lot of AI agent stuff. And I kind of like was one of the main forces behind the pivot and the kind of like resurrection of that project. And we did really well.
Yeah,
And then,
Delicium,
yeah.
$186 million market cap currently, right? I mean,
Yeah, currently,
huge.
but
Yeah.
at the peak it was like 2.4 billion.
Yeah.
So we rode that wave up, and I think that asset will still perform really well.
Yeah.
However, there was a misalignment of interests, and I was really interested in doing my own stuff. And I think
Hmm.
that I thought at that time that I would be able to go much faster and make much more change in the world. So I decided to leave. Together with me, a bunch of our team members decided to leave as well and follow us to the new venture. Hence, we right from the get-go, we hit the ground running, and we had a very strong team.
Yeah. I was your
So
team.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So really good experience across the board, not just on the tech side, but also on the project development and kind of like asset management side. Some of our co-founders are from Zero Stage. So Fuad is one of the co-founders of Zero Stage, and what they have been doing is incubating a bunch of projects. I think they incubated the top 7 projects of 2023.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so we get all that experience together, right? So you get and the expertise in technology, and the expertise in the asset side of things and the go to market, and then me naturally being able to build large communities, etc. It just kind of like made a lot of sense for us to do this together, and everybody is very involved and pushing this thing forward like crazy.
Yeah. So then with this vast experience that you have in, I'll say real life, when you're talking about Mercedes, Coca-Cola, working in, real life businesses, as in, 9 to 5 essentially, right? And
Yeah.
then your experience working and being the co-founder, right, of Delicium, which, you can't understate how successful that project was. And what have you learned from the experience you've had from these past projects and past jobs that you've been working on that you're implementing for the launch of Swarm?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is being able to assess the situation in a very rational and calm way, and really understand the inner workings of a Web3 project, because it's wildly different from traditional business, right? There's
Yeah.
so many different variables that are you'd never have to think about when you're running a normal business, but when you enter the Web3 space, there are so many different variables that you all of a sudden have to take into account. It's like almost like you're going like IPO from day one, right? And then you have
Yeah.
like a bunch of stakeholders that you need to really take seriously, because these people have invested money in you. So I think my biggest experience is just like being able to see things for what they really are. And like a lot of founders, especially first time founders in Web3, they go really crazy and they pay a lot of attention and they put a lot of effort in things that ultimately don't really matter. And I think I have the privilege of really being able to understand what drives performance in this space, right? Like I was responsible for the big partnerships there. I was responsible for pushing international communications, etc. And I think that it's just something that you have to go through once to be able to really understand it. And
Yeah.
then you see, okay, you reflect on that experience, and then you take out what's good and you leave out the mistakes you've made and you apply that again. So I think the reason why we were able to build so fast as well is because we really have our eye on the ball, and we know what's a waste of time and we know what's not.
Yeah. I kind of liken it to, it's kind of like having a child. It's like I've done
Yeah.
a couple, I've done a few crypto launches in my time. Nothing huge scale like this, but even small projects where you have to, there's so many things to handle and everyone wants it now.
Yeah.
which is very different to in normal life. We have time, and people expect, understand that people sleep and have responsibilities, and but in a lot of the time in cryptocurrency, people don't expect that. They think everything's going to be running 24/7, which is funny because it
Yeah.
is AI agent licenses which will be running 24/7, but
Yes.
but there are people behind it. But once you kind of like having a child, like once you get the first child out, and it's and it's fine and it's safe and it's done all right, then when it comes to creating the second one and bringing it up just like a project, it does seem things seem to fit in place a lot
Yeah.
quicker and a lot easier than they did the last time. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
yeah. It's quite funny. So let's talk a little bit about the business model, right, and the revenue
Yeah.
for Swarm, right? So in terms of revenue streams, because I'm sure a lot of people listening are thinking, okay, let's like how to financially improve, their portfolio from investing with
Mm.
Swarm, right? So
Mm.
how do the swarms generate sustainable income?
Yeah.
And how are these contributors to Swarm incentivized to keep creating and bring even more exciting products to market under the Swarm umbrella, essentially, right? So
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah. So the agent licenses by default get access to this daily rewards distribution, right? Which is made up of 30% of the total token supply. You can see
Yeah.
this as an initial kickstart, essentially, right? So the purpose of that is distribution of ownership. Secondly, is also, we know the asset is going to perform well. The people that have invested will get a return, and naturally they can use that return to also help us build out their swarms, right? So that's kind of the logic that's going on there. Now, when we're talking about true revenue, sustainable revenue, which is generated through the servicing of additional third-party applications or our applications. So the Truth Protocol is one of those stops where you, as a user, you can join the Truth Protocol. You can help us bring arbitrary data on chain, and people that are going to use that data are essentially going to provide uh, the fees for the generation of that data. So one of the examples is that we have a prediction market. That prediction market will have to be as it's going to be tapped in or connected, better said, connected to that truth layer, truth
Okay.
protocol. And whenever we want to verify a certain market and or conclude a certain market, it will interact with the protocol. Same goes for rollup news, for example. This is another example. Rollup news will pay the fees to the network for the verification of this data. So those are just examples that we're generating. Then we're working with a bunch of other third parties that are also interested in soliciting these services. And for those third parties, we'll build out different solutions, and there will be a marketplace where you can solicit your agent swarm. If your agent swarm does the work, it will continuously generate revenue over time. But like I said earlier, the reason why we wanted to really build out the Truth Protocol is so that there's an immediate option for you to become part of a certain ecosystem and um, you know like actually contribute to the world and at the same time earn as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking through it. Another thing that really attracted me to Swarm was the marketplace idea, which
Yeah.
I think is brilliant. Usually, you can kind of generally when these kind of projects, generally they call them nodes, right? Essentially, or virtual nodes, right? Um,
Yes.
and of course, one of the problems with the purchasing a node is that once you buy it, it's in your wallet and you cannot move it, you cannot
Yeah.
sell it. It's yours, you have it. But
Yeah.
if possibly something can change in your life, or you're not into it anymore, or you've already made your investment back and you want to move on to something else, all these things can happen, right? Or you want
Yeah.
someone else to run it for you, right? All these things can happen. But with most nodes that I've seen, you cannot do anything with it. It's fixed in your wallet, soul
Yeah.
bound to your wallet, essentially. You can't move it. But
Yeah.
what this license marketplace is going to be able to do is the license that you're purchasing will be able to be sold, and I guess also leased, right,
Yes.
to
Correct.
other people. I haven't seen
So
this. Yeah.
yeah, so within 6 months, post launch, we will allow users to sell their license. And I think this is something that is so, like, I don't really like to say that this is a node. Yes,
Yeah,
the element of
I didn't want to say the
passive in
word, to be
yeah,
honest, but I did.
the element of
Yeah,
passive income is indeed there, but the utility is just so much larger than that, right? So
yeah,
it's kind of like a double whammy, if you will. But yeah, so the license marketplace will be there for you to just resell your license, right? Okay, you don't want to carry this thing anymore for whatever reason.
hmm,
You have the option to sell it, and on every resale of your license, so if you sell it to me and I sell it to somebody else, you'll still get a commission off of that, right? So you'll
yeah.
get 2.5 or like OG commission.
And of
And
course,
then
someone else, you also have the option to buy more, right? At
yes,
the same time.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes, correct. And also, um, you're also able to lease it. So if so, let's say, like, hypothetically, you still want to get the rewards and you still want to have ownership over a certain, asset, maybe like a swarm, but you don't want
hmm,
to actually do the work yourself. You can say, hey, I'm going to lease my license. And for me, leasing my license means that I will still be able to get paid for the license, right? And I will
yeah.
be able to get ownership of the underlying asset that swarm then may launch. So it's it's another route. Like, we want to, like, the problem I see with these other projects that do these kinds of races is that they raise a lot of money and then they kind of forget and don't care about the community that they raised from,
Yeah.
which I think is very unfair, and it doesn't really make sense. So I wanted to make sure that the whole path forward is out there, like, at least to give you an additional opportunity to exit if you wish, right? Like, I think that's important. I think that's really important. It gives some kind of safety and security, and considerably, or not considerably, hypothetically, the asset is going to be worth a lot more further down the line, right? So it's
Yeah.
going to appreciate in time. The more that gets sold, the more the base price of the asset will be. If you leave your tokens on the asset, then obviously the price will increase even more. So yeah.
The leasing is for me is very interesting because I'm thinking about people that I know in this space, right? And everyone has a skill. It's kind of like a toolbox, right? You know all these
Yeah.
people. Some people are fantastic at communication, social media, getting people together, making people move, waking people up, and making people do things, right? Where which is a
Right.
great skill. Then you have other people who are
Right.
unbelievably great in the code room, and they can create things faster and more innovative than other people, but they have
Yeah.
zero communication skill, right? Um,
Correct.
so, and depending on what kind of person you are and what you enjoy and what your skill set is, of course, anyone listening to this right now and people even not listening will would like in some way to be able to run their own business inside of AI. It's,
Yeah.
even yesterday, what was that? Trump, he said him and what was it, SoftBank and
Yeah.
OpenAI,
OpenAI.
and they
It's
pledged
400 billion dollar. Yeah,
500
400
billion dollars.
500 billion.
Yeah,
Wild.
unbelievable, right? And so, say you, as an investor, you purchase your license, right? But you still don't have the know-how and skill set to create the AI project that you've been dreaming of making. All you would then need to do is to find the developer that you need. Say, I have the license to work with Swarm to do this. I own that. So
Yes.
now you
Yes.
can come with me and we can create our business model. It's really
Yes.
unlocking a huge potential for team working. And I
Yes.
really like that part about it. You know,
Yes. And the cool thing about that as well is that we're developing like this governance suite, which is a token-based governance model for managing these swarms. So
yeah,
even if you get a developer, in the end, if you want to push, for example, certain updates, or you want to make changes to the swarm or to the prompts, like, you
hmm,
guys both need to agree to making changes, right? So, like, the governance is really cool in that perspective. It brings a different kind of dynamic. So I want to tell you something interesting, which I actually realized just yesterday.
Okay.
Um, so actually, there's two layers of decentralization when we're thinking about swarms. The first layer of decentralization is that you're decentralizing the compute, right? So you have all these agents that all the agents, they don't necessarily have to be owned by you. They might be owned by other people, right? So there might be multiple sources of agents within the swarm united under one umbrella, under one mission. This is a form of decentralizing, right? So what brings that and what gives that power is essentially you are minimizing the risk of a swarm being civil, right? So let's say like you and five friends or you and five developers that you lease your license to are going to build a swarm.
Mhm.
You guys have shared ownership over the agents and also over the swarm. It means that there's less risk for you just being the evil mastermind to go come and undermine the integrity of the entire network, right? And then you have different swarms. The different swarms, they are also owned by different people, right? They fall under an agent license, but then the ownership within the swarm is also distributed. So you have another layer of decentralization.
Mhm.
So this way, once you have so many different stakeholders within one network, it's so diverse. The chance that one person is going to come in and try and like fuck everybody up essentially is
Mhm.
is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller over time, while the capacity and the access that the network has to potential additional computer, maybe like data, is just going to increase because your purpose for your swarm and my purpose for my swarm might be completely different, but we're part of the same network. And if something at the top, let's say a D app, requires something from your swarm, but also something from my swarm, we don't have to interact with each other. The inference will just run to two endpoints, right? So
Yeah.
that's really interesting. There are so many layers of decentralization going on. And to a certain degree, you might argue that like that also reduces the risks of these centralized AIs, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
people, they complain that, hey, like AI is a black box solution, and we're now launching all these agents, and they are still black box solutions. But I think the truth protocol in combination with a framework kind of like diminishes that potential increase of bias within a network if it's all run on, let's say, an open AI, because each agent will be so specialized and will be built for a certain purpose that kind of like the bias over time just is extracted from the equation because the base model is biased, but the thing that you might build is probably not going to be biased because you want to work the bias out of it.
Mhm. So let's I'm sure as you're creating Swarm and getting ready for the token sale, and your mind is probably moving extremely fast, right, through all the
Yeah.
possibilities of what can actually be created. So on the website it talks about the truth um bot, the rollup bot, which we looked at earlier in the video. It mentions some autonomous trading ideas that a Swarm could do, where it would be able to
Yep.
automate trades for you, predict the market, get insights into what has real value and what doesn't have real
Yep.
economic value. What other ideas have come to your mind about what the possibilities are for AIs that the community could start creating?
Yeah. I think the reason why we started with data is because in the end, all decision making that happens on agent level or swarm level is driven by data. And you want that data to be valid, right? If you are now ingesting like a bunch of data from CNN, for example, and you're using that data to have an additional parameter or additional dynamic for the decision making of your swarm based off popular assets in the market, right? So what it's doing, let's say it's saying, hey, okay, look at what what assets see an increase in market cap that's sustained over the last 24 hours, and then try and find causation of that sustain and increase in market cap from news sources or other types of media, let's say X and Twitter. Well, you probably want to make sure that that data is verified and that data is true before you allow your swarm to make a decision. So that's why we started with data verifiability on chain. That's
Hmm.
the first thing. I think that's the cornerstone of everything, and it's really important. On top of that, you can build really cool things. So one of the things that I want to build is I want to build a prediction market for
Hmm.
agents, for swarms. So the prediction market is like, like which, it's kind of like a competition among swarms, like which swarm has access to the best intelligence and can prove themselves to be the best decision makers, and kind of like oracles in a sense. So this is something really cool. We actually have the backend and the infrastructure of the prediction market already. We had 4 million users in our alpha launch.
Wow.
We have seen, yeah, yeah. That's where the 1.2 million people in the Telegram group came from too.
They all
So,
want to
but
know the future of prices.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So, but that's a really exciting thing for me, because you kind of, in the Web3 space, you kind of have to bring back the utility really close to home. What I mean is, like, it has to be about markets. It has to be about the underlying assets. It has to be able to interact with assets, transfer assets, hold assets, own assets, right? So I think once you have those puzzles in place, where there's a lot of swarms, the intelligence is very diversified, you have a framework for being able to verify the information that is propagated through the network and requested and propagated through the swarms, and then you can start to build on top of that. So yeah, so swarm-based prediction markets is one of my favorite ones. Then definitely another one is more related to like DeFi. I think like
Hmm.
Def AI, like DeFi AI is going to become something which is going to be very useful for people,
Yeah.
like for end users, right? It's like, okay, I don't want to go to this site and connect my wallet and like buy this asset. I don't want to take all these steps of doing something. I just want to say like, hey, I found this asset on Twitter, go and
Yeah.
investigate it. If the score is, like matches my risk appetite. So let's say
Yeah.
my risk appetite is 5 out of 10. If the score is below 5, okay, let's purchase it. If it's above, if it's too much risk for my standard of purchasing assets, then let's not do it. Because
Yeah.
look, like this decision making around investment is actually a very rational and logical thing, right? It's like you have your
Hmm.
framework for investing in things. So you can actually build a swarm that operates on your framework, on your decision making process for investing in assets, right? So that's a thing that I think it's pretty cool. Like I've been building agents for so many things in my life, and it just makes me feel like a superhuman. Because whenever I face a really difficult decision, I go to my decision making agent. I'm like, hey, what principles do I have, which are my principles, which I wrote down and developed, for getting me out of this tricky situation to find a solution? And then it will send me, hey, have you thought about this and this and this? And I'm like, holy shit, wow, it's so useful, because it
Yeah.
I kind of like upload part of my rational logic and decision making into this agent, and it reflects it to me, but it's kind of like a therapy.
Yeah. We have a question here from Johnny Crypto. He says, "Do Telegram group users get guaranteed spot for purchase of license?" So this would be the agent alpha group, right?
Yeah, so the agent alpha group, so everybody gets a fair access to the launch. What you need is a referral code. That
Okay.
referral code you can get from, for example, like Mr. Crypto Mischief from Richie.
Yeah.
So the prerequisite is you need a referral code. So if you have a referral code, you can buy. The Alpha Group has other benefits, which I don't want to announce yet, but it's going to be pretty big, and it's going to be very worth it for you to join. I think there's only 200 slots left by now.
Yeah.
It's capped at 1,000. So once it gets to 1,000 and we launch the agent license sale, we will announce the benefits for the Alpha Group. But it's pretty juicy. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
juicy.
It is tricky to get in that group.
Yes.
I was given, I think from Olive, I was given, I think it was about 30 invites that I could send out to people. And, I posted it a couple of weeks ago, and those people who took the opportunity are in the group. And, Johnny Crypto, if thanks for being in the AMA and being live and things. Maybe you can DM me. I might be able to. I think I still have 1 or 2 left, which I can share. So let's,
Yeah.
but I love the idea of having a really difficult to access Telegram group, but not super difficult, but you just need to put that little bit of effort in
Effort.
to,
Yeah.
to get there, right? Because it means that everyone in the group has worked to find it, and then of course they're definitely going to pin it in their Telegram so that they see all the conversations coming in. They want to know the announcements.
Yeah.
It really makes it a much more exciting place to be. Than I think it was a great decision, because having a room that's full of 1.5 billion people, you cannot get anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to have a conversation. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Going back to the AI, so what I was thinking, like what I really want to make is, I've seen a lot of attempts at this, but nothing's managed to be truly successful, would be with concentrated liquidity farming, and knowing
Yeah.
when, of course, to tighten the range and squeeze out the amazing yield that is on offer from trading volume, essentially, and then knowing
Yeah.
when to widen and safe in your position, when to cash out, when to compound. I
Yeah.
still am yet to see something that can do it in a most completely profitable way.
Yeah.
It's tricky though. I think it would take. There's a couple protocols out at the moment that are attempting to do it, the kind of automated surface. I've noticed one with Ichi, another with Dex Finance. They
Mm.
are getting there, but it's not yet there.
I think
Yeah.
the problem also with those solutions is like the reason why it works and it's profitable is because very few people do it, and once too many people start to do it, like the marginal benefit and effects like kind of like decrease over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a swarm could definitely do that. It's again just based off like, hey, like what kind of logic do you use to decide when to enter or exit a position,
Yeah.
right? And how well is it at assessing the situation? And then maybe beyond that is like, how much better does it perform than you would as a human, right?
Yeah, exactly. And now, of course, sports betting is another one that could be
Yeah.
probably plugged up quite nicely, where if you can create an AI that can predict the result of the Super Bowl, or
Yeah.
that would also be fantastic.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Be like Back to the Future.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I think that's why I'm generally excited about prediction markets too, for
Okay.
swarms and
Yeah.
agents. Because it's like
So,
the ultimate litmus test of like how accurate you can be, right? If you can predict something that didn't even happen yet.
yeah, exactly right. So what about partnerships that you have with Swarm? What kind of partnerships do you have at the moment, and which ones are you working up to or looking to achieve with the Swarm network?
Yeah, so we're very much focused on infrastructure and AI. So we have a bunch of AI service providers that we've received grants from. So one of them is Google. So Google Cloud is we received a grant from them.
I've never heard of them.
And
Who are
then
they? No, I'm joking. Yeah, seriously, Google,
yeah,
right?
yeah, Google, and then you got like Fireworks AI and FAL and Together AI. Those are kind of like infrastructure providers that we've received some support from. And there's a whole slate of partnerships that we haven't announced yet. We're really focused on the high quality ones. You know, like what I don't like about the space is that people make partnerships for the sake of partnerships.
Yeah.
And our principle is like, we only make a partnership if there's substance. If there's no substance, then we already know that, you know, it's like some fairy tale that we're gonna in the future do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, why? Like, why would we even do that right now? Right. So considering my history and considering the previous achievements and partnerships that we've been able to spin up with for example, the Lysim, the past project, it was Google, Microsoft, Nvidia. You know, like I'm looking to go
NVIDIA.
down
Wow.
this, yeah, Nvidia as well. So I'm
Yeah.
looking to go down this route. You know, like I rather invest a lot more time and a lot more effort to be playing with the big boys than just, like cluster with my crypto homies and like generate more vaporware.
Yeah, yeah. It's go big or go home, right?
Yeah, yeah, yes, exactly.
That's cool. That's exciting though. If you have partnerships that are going to be happening, but you're holding them back. Of course, that just we know how the space works. If you drop everything at once, then it won't have the amount of impact that is
Yes,
as much as you say you don't like it. At least you do understand how it all works. And that's
yes,
key actually.
yes,
We can't
yes,
change these
exactly.
things, but it's like I guess it's leveraging them to your advantage, right? And
Yes,
working through.
yes, correct.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Well, this has been a really good chat about this. We've crossed 1 hour, and I don't want to make this video too long because generally on YouTube, the longer the video can be, then the less people will engage with it. We're a short
Yeah,
form society these days, I guess. But
yeah. Sub 15 seconds attention
yeah,
span. That's
exactly
what they
right.
say.
But I hope hopefully everyone who's in the live chat and in the live room has understood what's on offer here and the exciting opportunity that is upcoming for everybody, right? If you are a coder, a non-coder, an AI maker, a non-AI maker, there is something here for everyone. And I'm extremely excited about it just because of how on the button the timing of this launch and the narrative of the launch is the perfect storm, in my opinion, for
Thank
creating
you.
and with having yourself behind the project with a vision which is beyond the financial vision. It's actually to create something for yourself that you can be proud of, right? So I think
Yes,
this is a very nice timing for everything coming together. Life's like that sometimes. Everything just lines up
yes,
very nicely.
everything lines up. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes. Thank you, Richie. I appreciate that too.
yeah,
Yeah, I really agree. It's like, you know, at one point in life, you will be able to move beyond this stage where everything is about what you're able to achieve in the eye
hmm
of measurement, right? Like, oh, my material wealth, like what car I can drive and this and that. But that loses its value really, really, really quickly. And then you start to really think about, well, then what is the real purpose of this all, right? It's like, what am I doing here? And then you quickly realize that it's about just positively impacting the whole and making sure that you also optimize for the whole. I really believe
yeah,
that, like, the biggest flaw and the biggest mental issue that we have in the Western society is that we're too focused on ourselves. It's always like about, like, hey, I need to get better, I need to advance in society, I need to, like, get the C level, I need to rise in the ranks. But what people tend to forget is that we're always optimizing for the whole. We're always optimizing for each other. You are optimizing for your family is optimizing for the community is optimizing for the state is optimizing for the world, and so on, right?
hmm
It's like, okay, then what can we give back to the society? And I think, that's why the truth protocol and this technology and the AI agents and the swarms is just, I think it's able to really make an impact.
That's deep, but
It's deep,
I'm
yeah.
gonna I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna put it in a short, and then everyone's going to see it.
Awesome, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
but on that note, so I really push you guys to get to swarmnetwork.ai. Follow Yannick on X, follow Swarm on X, and I also have a Telegram group. If you are truly really interested in this project, then please get in touch with me, and I'll help you as much as I can to also find your way into this elite and very elite Telegram group that you've created. I think the longer that this goes, the more precious that group will be.
Yeah,
And
I think so too.
that's a great thing, really great thing. And yeah, and thank you very much for coming on the channel. It was a very,
Thank you for
very,
having
very
me.
great chat to have with you. Okay,
Yes.
and
Thanks, Richie. And thanks to
yeah,
everybody for joining. I hope to see you guys in the Alpha group and to be part of the launch. Oh, yeah. Somebody just
yeah,
commented about Mr. Furley. That's a really
yeah.
nice guy, by the way. Shout out,
Uh,
Mr. Furley.
yeah, this is Mr. Furley here. He has his YouTube is Wise Degenerate. He says he
Oh,
posted.
that is Mr. Furley. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. He's everywhere. Oh yeah, there's
Yeah,
Olive
yeah.
there as well. What's Olive? Hi Olive.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. Thank you
Cool.
very much, and I'll
Bye
speak to
bye.
you soon. Speak to you soon. Okay.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.